Okay, well, welcome everyone to our webinar on the new SWIMS interface that is launching this spring. My name's Katie Bradford. I am the Water Action Volunteers Program Manager, and I'm joined here by Emily Heald, who's the Rivers Educator with Extension. You'll be hearing from her later, and she will be, in the meantime, watching the chat. So if you have any questions throughout this webinar, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll pause a few times throughout the meeting to answer your questions, and Emily may also type in answers as well. So for the agenda today, I'm not sure if Jake Dickman, yes, he's here, great. So we're going to start with Jake Dickman, who's the SWIMS Database Manager, is going to give us a very quick 5-minute kind of overview of this new interface and why the DNR made the change. And then we are going to actually share our screens and walk you through where to find the link to the new SWIMS, how to log in, how to kind of click around, what it looks like, just kind of introduce you to it. We're going to show you how to submit data in the new interface. And then Emily, and how to view or edit data. Then Emily's going to take over and share how to search for data in SWIMS and also walk you through a bit of the WAV data dashboard that's on our website as another way to look for data that you've submitted. So that's kind of a bit about what we're going to be talking about today. But I want to start with an introduction with Jake so he can give us a little overview of the rationale behind this move. So Jake, if you want to unmute yourself and feel free to join. Do you have any slides to share?
No, I don't have any slides. I'll just give a brief,
Thanks.
intro. So, all right.
Sounds
Well,
great.
thanks, Katie. So, good afternoon, everybody. As Katie mentioned, my name is Jake Dickman, SWIMS Data Manager. Manage the database for DNR staff, external partners such as the WAV program, the Citizen Lake Monitoring Network, Clean Boats, Clean Waters, and a bunch of other external partners, either looking to enter data into the database or view data. So large shoes to fill from some prior data managers. So the rationale behind the transition from the old interface to the new interface is to meet DNR development standards. So the old interface was, long story short, coded in a language called Java, and the new interface is coded in a language called .NET. So over time, languages, computer languages, evolve, and some become more better for data display or data entry, and become a more useful tool. And so a lot of what the department has done in the past is transitioning to these new coding languages that allow more for the external users or internal users to use. And so again, that was to meet DNR development standards. And along with meeting those development standards, the additional goals of this redesign were to update it with a modern look, create a standardized layout. So there were 2 or 3 different layouts that different users would use. So a higher level user would use a standard layout, and then there was a simplified layout. So to make it easier for us to manage the system as well as to help you enter data. When I first started, I didn't know there was 2 different layouts. So when somebody was saying it looked like this, I'm like, I have no clue what that is. So learning moment right there. So that will help, program coordinators or anybody else train volunteers or anybody to use the system. And another goal was to allow users to do and manage more within the database. So a big thing that we learned throughout this process was volunteers and people didn't want to just enter data to the system. They wanted to find data maybe that they collected years ago and they couldn't find it in a quick view data entry page, or find data that other people collected on that stream, that water body, or even throughout that county or throughout the state. So that included, making the layout simplified, standardized, and providing better guidance and documentation on how to do that. And so there were some roadblocks. We started about 2015, 2016, gathering requirements and planning this transition, and then transition through multiple project managers, and then it was a learning curve. So we had to rewrite everything from the old language to the new language. It wasn't just a quick copy and paste over, and then essentially me learning how every piece of the database worked, whether it was for the data entry portion that you guys will primarily use, or for other reporting functions or pieces that maybe DNR staff use. So it was a constant learning of the database, and it's a very robust database and used by a wide variety of projects. And we think we got into a place that it will work for all of our users in a simplified way, and with modifications to come as needed. Anything else, Katie, that you would like me to touch on?
Can you just briefly explain kind of, it's in its current state now, and will it continue to be worked on in the future? Are there any other changes we could expect to see, the volunteers could expect to see?
Yep. So for a lot of our higher level external partners, volunteers, they might be used to an area called the My Projects area. And that's something we had to rebuild into this new interface. And that was a very detailed and kind of complex area in the past. And so, long story short, everything runs on a budget. And so we had to implement something in some capacity that allowed you to view your projects, allow you to quickly navigate the project, to maybe view data or view some information. So that is a key thing, or something that will be developed and transitioned as we go on. So we'll have very basic options right now, and the idea is to have that kind of evolve as the database evolves. So we're thinking about adding more data sets and more ways to enter data into the database, maybe not specific to the WAV program, but for shoreline habitat monitoring, for point intercept or plant surveys on lakes. So the database will continue to evolve to allow additional data sets to find data or enter data in different ways. So it's not something that's static right now, and that's something of any technology system, is it's not a static thing, and will always evolve to display data differently or to accept different sets of data. So what you see today will be the foundation and kind of the main thing you'll see for the future, but with minor changes coming down the road. If there are any substantial changes, we'll be sure to notify you, either the DNR SWIMS program or staff, or in coordination with the WAVE program, making you aware of those changes and if that affects how you enter or find data. But I don't affect or see anything that will affect how you currently find data or enter data right now.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Jake. I think that's a great intro. And if anyone has any more complex questions that Emily and I can't answer, we'll be looking to Jake to answer those today throughout the meeting. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And as I mentioned, for those of you who have joined a bit late, we don't have any slides today. We'll just be sharing our screen and clicking around and helping you get oriented to the database. So if you have questions as I'm talking, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will pause at different times to respond to those questions. And if you can't see what I'm sharing, let us know. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. So what you should be seeing right now is the Water Action Volunteers homepage. And I need to make sure I can see the chat. Where did it go? Just a moment. Okay. Emily, would you confirm that you can see the page?
I can see the page.
Thank you. Okay, let's get started. So I'm going to start by sharing a couple ways you can get to the link to the new SWIMS interface, because the link has changed and you're going to want to start using the new link. So one way is through our website. At the top, there's a data tab. And if you hover over it, you'll see a submit data page. So if I click on that, this is where we keep all of our information about how volunteers can log into SWIMS, enter data in SWIMS. And this large blue button right here that says log into the SWIMS database will take you directly to the login page. And there's the new login page. So it already links to the new one. The other way you can do it, I'm on Google, so you can use any search engine, Bing or Google and whatnot. If I just type in DNR SWIMS or Wisconsin DNR SWIMS and hit search, typically for me at least, the first link that comes up is the Surface Water Integrated Monitoring System SWIMS database page. If I click on that, this is the DNR's home page for all information about SWIMS. And on this page is the link for the new SWIMS interface. So I can click on that, it'll take me to the same place. So those are the two ways that you can really easily get to the login page. And then after that, you can always bookmark it and find it more quickly. Okay. So we are on the login page. You're going to log in with the exact same username and password you always have. The only difference is you now have to check this box that says you're an external user or volunteer, you know, using your WAMS ID that you signed up for. So I have my username, my password, I check the external box, and then I can click login. And this is the home page that we're going to reach. So I do want to note that this SWIMS has all the same features as it did before. All the same actions that you can do. It's just things might be in a slightly different place than they were before. So that's the point of this webinar, is just to show you where things have moved to. And I'm just going to provide a general introduction, and then you can log in and click around and explore to really get more comfortable with it. So I'm going to focus mostly on the tabs at the top. In the top left, we have the DNR's logo. If you click on this at any time when you're in SWIMS, it's going to bring you right back to the same page. So it probably, you know, you didn't see anything happen because I'm on the home page. This is what it looks like. The next tab is the My Projects tab, which I'm going to go through. View data, submit data, and search. Search actually also just brings you right back to this page. So those typically are going to be the most common tabs you use. The other thing I want to note is that over here you have your profile, and I just want to say that the vast majority of you, clicking on this won't really do anything because you don't have the role or ability to be able to edit people. So just don't click on it. And in fact, right now, there's a bit of an error, so it'll lock you out of SWIMS if you try to click on it. All right, and I see Addie had a note in the chat. I have heard from some volunteers that they have needed to reset their password when logging into the new SWIMS for the first time. Maybe something to try for folks having a hard time logging in. Interesting, I haven't heard that before. I think I was able to use the same password. So, you know, maybe one thing to try with that would be clearing the cache in your browser, which kind of just clears all the cookies and background settings. Maybe that would do something, I'm not sure. But if you're having these problems, reach out to us. Okay, so let's walk through my projects. If I click on this tab in the top, this is usually in the last version of SWIMS, my project was kind of just on your home screen, I believe. So in the new one, this is where it looks like you have to click on it. I only have one monitoring station, so any projects you're assigned to will show up in this top left box. So this is the one monitoring station I actively submit data for. And when you select whatever project, on the right-hand side, this box is going to keep changing, and it's going to show you different things depending on what you click on. All right. So then here are the tasks. So I'm just going to go through each one really quick. If you click email the DNR SWIMS team for support, it'll pull up your email so that you can send them an email. So it's an action that will happen. Let me see. I don't actually want to click on it because I don't know where it's if it's gonna kick me out of the screen or whatever. If you click on enter data, it's going to take you to the submit data page, which you always go to when you submit WAV data. I'm just going to hit the back button. In order to get back to the page you were on before, you hit the back button on your browser at any time. The next tab, find, download, monitoring data. If I click on that, it's going to take me to a search page where I can search for my fieldwork events. So fieldwork events are like anytime you go out monitoring, you know, let's say I go out monitoring on May 1st, I come here and I submit data for that May 1st stream monitoring event. That's a fieldwork event. So you can search for fieldwork events by clicking in your My Projects on that find, download data. The next one is project overview. So this project overview is tied to whatever project you have selected up here. So I only have one. So if I click project overview, it's going to take me to the Pheasant Branch at Middleton High School project page. And this is what the project page looks like. I think Emily's going to walk through this a bit. But essentially you have like all the official DNR names for the station, the codes, the purpose of the project, and all the data associated with it and such will be at the bottom of the page. And I'm going to hit back. Then we have upload document. So if you take a picture of your monitoring site and you want to upload it and attach it to your project, you can click here and it'll take you to the create a document page. And again, I'm not going to walk through any of these yet. Whoop. Let's hit the back button on my browser to get back where we were before. And then the last thing on the task is the view list. So essentially this view list is the same as the view data tab, which I'll show you in a second. And this is going to show me all data I've submitted for all time, for any projects or station or monitoring sites. And then we have at the bottom project details. So what this does is as I click through these different project details, it's going to change what is shown in this box here. And I have it really zoomed in right now so that it's easier for all of you to see. If I like zoom back out, you'll see that as I click through the different details, I can see things about the project. Now, I do want to mention that there are different user access roles in SWIMS. So I have more access to SWIMS than a typical WAV volunteer. So your list under project details will be shorter. You probably won't see some of these things. I'm not entirely sure what you can see. You might not be able to see people, for example, or lab slips. But you'll have all the important actions. And all of this information is also just in the project overview as well. So I know this box is a little bit small. So if you want to learn more about the project or who's been monitoring, you can always go to your tasks, click on project overview, and it'll take you to that project page. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to share about the My Project. Okay, so that's the My Projects tab. I'm going to go over and show you the View Data tab. This is where you can view all of the data you've ever submitted into SWIMS, or that people have listed you as a data collector. So you may not have submitted the data yourself, but you may be a data collector on some of these other projects, like other stream monitoring sites, aquatic invasive species projects, that kind of thing. And I talked to Jake, and I believe that at the moment, and Jake, you can confirm, if you're a data collector, you might not be able to see it in here because you said you needed to change something. Is that still correct?
Yeah, I'm looking into updating the code that helps populate this area. So
awesome.
look forward to that working properly very soon.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Yes. For example, I can see that my husband Ben and I went out. Each column is a different type of information. So on the left we have the edit button if we need to. If I forgot to enter my transparency data on our May 8th 10:40 a.m. fieldwork event when we went out to the stream, then I can click edit and add that information. If I need to delete the entire fieldwork event, which be very, very careful about, this is where I would do that as well. Fieldwork sequence number is like, a code that the DNR assigns to your fieldwork event. I can see who was assigned as data collectors and so on. And you can sort this data. So for example, I can click on these tabs here and it will sort differently depending on how I click. So although it doesn't seem to be doing anything at the moment, but theoretically, these tabs you should be able to sort like by data collector, sort by project name, sort by station name, that kind of thing. I'm not sure why it's not working for me right now, but that's how that works. And then if you click up here on monitoring data you recently scheduled, this doesn't really apply to me, but like if you had future fieldwork events planned, I'm not sure if this is a staff thing. I've never seen any WAV volunteers planning monitoring work, but that would be here. Let's see, anything else? Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to share about was the submit data tab and walk through this. So I'm going to pause there before I show how to submit data and see if we have any questions I need to address. So Emily, was there anything that came up that?
There are a couple in there, but I'm answering them as they come in.
Okay, so we should be good.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you have collected data and you're ready to submit it to SWIMS, I'm going to go back to the home page really quick, which is the DNR logo on the left. The easiest way is just to click this Submit Data tab, or at least I found it is the easiest way. There are a lot of different ways to get to it, actually. You could also go into your My Projects, select the monitoring site you want to submit data for, and then submit data that way. But this is one way to do it, and you just have to click on Submit Data here. And it's going to pre-populate with some things. So if you had more than one monitoring site, you'd have a couple options. But this page probably looks pretty similar to it did in the older interface. It's just visually, I guess, it has a different aesthetic to it. All the projects you're assigned to should show up here. For data collectors, I have quite a list here of different data collectors, groups I've created. This also includes any people assigned to the projects I'm a part of. So this could be quite a long list. At this time, we don't have a way to clean it up, unfortunately. You can't, delete a group that's been created. So we're just going to have to, go through and find the appropriate data collectors for now. I did want to show you the Find Data Collector tool really quick. So if you don't see the people in here that collected data with you that day, you click on Find Data Collector. Oh, and I'm going to make this, big again so you can really see it better. There we go. Okay, so I clicked on Find Data Collector. This is what the page looks like. And the trick to using this page is in this top box here. You just click the name of someone you want to find. So I'm going to search for Emily. And there's a lot of Emilys, so I'm going to put in her last name too. Oh no, Emily, you didn't show up. Why didn't you show up? Where is she? Interesting. Oh, that's because that's new people? Well, this is a terrible example. Well, let me do my husband then. Ben, no.
It functions best with last name first. That is something that we can look into as well as just a general generic search by name. Yeah.
See, I'm learning right along with everyone
Yep.
else. Even though I practiced this many times. Okay, last name first, hot tip of the day. So there's Emily. She showed up right away because we used last name first. So you're going to see that this people area populated, that's individuals. And then we have existing groups populated. So I can see all the groups that Emily's a part of. And if there's a group that fits the people I monitored with, then I click this black arrow here. Let me do the one with me in it. Me and Emily went out monitoring. I click the black arrow and it will populate under data collectors. I'm going to go back to that page. Let's say I wanted to create a new group. So I'm going to type in her name in the top again. I'm going to click add here, and it's going to start creating a new group in this new collector group area. And then I'm going to do Jake, because Jake, I don't think you're a part of enough groups at this point.
Keep adding me.
Yes. And then I'll add myself. We actually might be in a group together already, but that's okay. I'm going to do this. So once you have all the people who went out monitoring with you, then you can hit create, and it's going to populate with that group. All right, so that's our data collectors. Stations, again, should populate with any stations you're a part of. And all this is going to basically look the same. I'm going to put a really ridiculous monitoring day, just so I remember to delete this data. And I'm almost done showing you this, so I can't see the bottom. You're going to hit next, and then you can go and start entering data. So, you know, I'm expecting all of you have entered data before, and this will pretty much all work exactly the same. The buttons might look a little different. So if you click save, it's going to keep you on that page. It jumped me to the top, but it kept me on the page. If you hit save and return, it's going to knock you to that view data page where it shows all the data you've submitted in the past. So if I want to, you know, enter more data at this event, I hit save and enter flow data, and it'll bring me to that. So all these pages are going to look exactly the same. I'm going to enter my thermistor data, etc. So once I'm done, I'm going to click save and return. And now I've submitted data for my monitoring event. And it should show up at the very top on my view data page, January 1st, 2023. This is so that I remember to delete it, and I'm all set to go. Now let's say, again, I did something wrong. Well, this is where I can edit. I can click the edit button on the left. It takes me right back to that home page. And I can, you know, click through and fix my data. I'm going to click save and return to submit again. And I can delete it too. So just be really careful. I'm going to click this delete button. It asks, am I sure? Yes, I'm sure it's fake data. So I'm going to delete it, and it's gone. So that's how quickly you can accidentally delete data. So just be really careful. Okay. I think that is all I was going to talk about before handing it off to Emily. Emily, are there any more questions to answer?
There are a couple. I'm just typing an answer to one right now.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we're going to pass it off to Emily, and she's going to share more about searching for data and such. So hopefully this is feeling fairly comfortable and fairly familiar, because it's not, you know, a super drastic change, hopefully. I'm going to stop sharing, Emily, so you can take over.
Great. So let me just share my screen here. Okie dokie. I have stuff all over my screen right now. 1 second.
And I will check out the chat as well.
Okay, can you see that, Katie?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just move some toolbars around here. So I'm on the SWIMS homepage again, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what you want to do if you want to view data that you've entered in the past, and you're kind of curious about, you know, maybe what data has been entered at other stations or data that you have entered in the past. So you have all of these little drop-down tabs here on your home screen. I might have a couple more than you, but you should have this one that says stations. If you click on that and bring it down and then hit find, you'll get a page that looks something like this. And so under station ID, this is where you can enter the station that you're interested in. And so I'm going to be saying I'm interested in this station. So you can put your own station ID in there or another station that you're interested in. And then I'm going to hit search. And you can see that the station pops up here. So I'm interested in Plum Creek at Creek Road station. And then I'm just going to click where it's under station ID. It has this blue underlined option that comes up. And you can see that you can click it here. So I'm going to click that. And all of the information about your station will be populated on the top here. So you can see what watershed you're in, the different HUC levels for watershed that you're in, and you can click all these and get information on those as well. The lat long where that station is located. And then if you scroll down, there's this green tab, and you can see that this says fieldwork right here. So if you click on that fieldwork tab, you're going to see all of the different types of fieldwork that have already been entered into that station. So you can see the station has data from 2021 and 2022. And if you click on any of these events here, say you're interested in, you know, July information from 2021, you can click right here under fieldwork sequence number. And then if you scroll down, there's an option that says field results, and you're going to click on that. And you can see it looks just like the data entry process that you're used to here. So you can see that you can view the weather conditions, the air temperature, the water temperature, the dissolved oxygen. And there are different tabs down here so that you can click through. Oops, let's see, let me go back to that here. So you can click through and see the different parameters that have been entered in that fieldwork event. So it's a little kind of clunky to do that, and it's hard to view lots of data all at the same time. And so actually what the easier option is to do is to use our data dashboard. I'm going to pause for a second and look at the chat and see if anything's there. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, if you want, you can show the upload document, where to find that really quick.
Okay.
Yeah, but otherwise no questions.
Okay. So when you're submitting your data and you go to the submit data tab, after you enter the project that you want to enter your data with and your data collector name and all of that information, your start date and everything, and end date and the time, there's an option here to do to enter a document, and that would be where you would submit a picture. So after you hit create document, and then you'll fill out the document title. So that will probably be, you know, your station ID and the date in your document title. The author name would be you.
And
then,
Emily, we can't see the pop-up.
Oh, you can't. Probably because the way I'm sharing my screen. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So there are options here for you to enter the document title, like I was saying, to put your station ID in, and the date. The author name would be you, and then the published date would be the date that you're entering it. And then you can choose upload file, and it'll just bring up a file explorer like you're used to seeing as you upload other documents. So you can choose your photo in that way. And then your description can be anything, you know, like site photo for December 20th, 2022, whatever date that you're out monitoring. And then I would put, you know, something like Popple River in with it. So that's pretty straightforward. Are there any questions on uploading documents at all? Okay. Katie, interrupt me if I have a question to stop and ask for, because I don't have my chat open. Okay.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. So back to viewing data, I think the easiest way to do that actually is through our data dashboard. And so if you go to the home screen of wateractionvolunteers.org, there is a tab that says data, and then you can go to stream monitoring data dashboard. And that just takes a second to load because there's so much good stuff on this website that it sometimes just takes a little bit longer to load. And so there are a lot of interesting things on this map. So you can see if you toggle over to this, looks like a bunch of squares on top of each other here, you'll get all the different layers that you can choose from. So you can choose to see the counties on the map. So you can see I can toggle that on and off. You can see where there are 9 key element plans in if they're in your region or not. And then you can also toggle between all the different types of watersheds. So Huck 8 watershed is a little bit larger scale. 10 gets a little smaller, and then 12 gets even smaller than that. So if you're interested in seeing your watershed, that's a good way to do that. So I'm going to turn that off. And then all these little dots have colors that correspond with them. And so you can see the green stations are where we have baseline monitoring going on. Orange is where we have nutrient monitoring, and purple is where we have continuous temperature monitoring or thermistor stations involved. So for the purposes of this training, I'm just going to look at baseline stations and then choose a random one. If you're doing this, maybe you're interested in, zooming in and seeing what data is being collected in your region, or you might want to just zoom in into your data station. So I'm just going to choose a random one here and click on that. And so now I have that selected. You can see if you hover over it, it has the station ID and the name there. So we're going to be looking at Door Creek data. And if you scroll down, you can see that we have our data station is selected here. And scrolling down even more, you can see that we have our baseline data is selected. If there was nutrient data collected at that site, you could click on that, but you can see the station does not have nutrient data, nor does it have thermistor data, but if it did, it would show up if you click these tabs here. So just looking at baseline data here, you get a really nice graph that appears with all the data that's been collected at that site. And there's a key down here that shows you exactly what you're looking at. So you can see those navy blue bars are dissolved oxygen, the light blue are water temperature, and so on and so forth. You can have a nice graphical view of this. You can hover your mouse over the different dates and see exactly what was monitored on those different dates. And these graphs are really nice. I know a lot of people like to use them when they're out doing meetings with their watershed groups. And so if you would like a copy of this graph, you can click here where it says click to download this plot as a PNG. So I'm going to click that. And then in this bottom corner here, you can see that plot shows up. So you can just click on that and you have that nice graph that you can share with your watershed groups. Also scrolling down here, you get a nice station data summary that shows you all the minimum, maximum, then the date of the min and max for those. So dissolved oxygen, we can see at this station, there's been a total of 9 observations. And then we get the min and the max information. Scrolling down even more, there's information about each of the parameters and how to interpret those a little bit more, which is very nice. And then you can click here to say view and download baseline data. Maybe you're interested in getting all that data into an Excel document. So by clicking that, you can see we get this nice view of all of these data collection events here. And you can scroll through and look at them like that. Or you can also click download just maybe the 2022 data, or you can click download all years of baseline data for this site. We're going to do that one just for the purposes of example. So I click there and then you can see I get this nice pop-up in the corner again, and I can open my Excel document and it pops up just like this. So you can have all the years of data just like that. Are there any questions on the data dashboard at all? Let's see.
We don't on that, but we have other SWIMS questions.
Okay.
So one person asked if you can upload more than one photo at a time, and Jake said not multiple individual photos, but you can upload a zipped folder that has multiple photos. So that's a hot trick. we had another question. I would like to know if there's any way for a coordinator to make edits on data submitted by volunteers they're working with.
Jake, do our coordinators have access to edit other people's data at all, or would that be something to go through us at WAV?
Yeah, I think initially go through the WAV program staff or even the DNR SWIMS staff to help edit data, but that's something we can look into allowing. Again, everything is SWIMS role-based, and we can look into what roles would be most applicable for you to be allowed to edit data that your volunteers have collected. I will get back to you on that, and I'll make a note who asked that question.
Great.
And another question was, how do I add a new person rather than a group? I'm trying to make a group with someone who is not in the list. That's a good question. So a new person to SWIMS.
If you're looking to add a new person to SWIMS, they would have to, if they want to enter data, they would have to create the new WAMS ID and then email the WAV staff and let us know their login information so that we can create a new profile for them. Or if there's someone that you just monitor with frequently, you can send us an email to, I'm going to put this in the chat, at wave@extension.wisc.edu. And we can set up a profile for them so that they can be a part of that data collector group. Does that make sense the way I described that?
Yeah. So essentially, there's a way for WAV staff to add a profile for someone without them having to create a WAMS ID, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Cool. Yes, but can't see. Oh, the address just came through.
Yep. Sorry, I
Email
accidentally
address.
sent it directly to Lance, but now it's sent to everyone.
Thanks. Lance asked, can we view data for a site that has been collected from non-WAV entities? I'm guessing like DNR data.
Yep. So if you know the station ID for that, then you can search it through the way that I showed you initially, where you do it through SWIMS, and you can search for the station that way.
Yeah, so can you show what that would look like just again? Can you share your screen and show that?
Yes. So that was where you hit, let me move my toolbars around. On the home screen, you have the stations tab here, so you can drop it down and hit find. And then you can enter the station ID that you're interested in there.
And you can also type in like the name of the site, and then you can kind of find it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that will pull up data submitted by anyone, right, for that site, not just WAV, the WAV community.
Yep. Any data associated with that site will come up.
Great. I think those are all the questions in the chat right now. We can wait a few minutes if people have any more questions they would like to ask. I guess one thing I'll also say is that if you have any SWIMS needs, just reach out to us directly, Emily and I, through our WAV email address that she shared in the chat, wave@extension.wisc.edu. You know, we can triage, we can either help you directly or direct you to the person who can help you. Yeah, so we'll stick on a few more minutes to answer more questions. But if you'd like to go, that is pretty much everything we were going to cover today. So I wish you the best. I hope you, your first monitoring day in April or May is the most beautiful day. We have our first training on Saturday and we're seeing thunderstorms, so we're a little nervous, but we're really excited for it to get started. So I'm going to stop recording now and happy to keep answering questions.